Welcome to Real Estate Talk. We're back tackling your questions about real estate. And our question for today is, who pays real estate agent fees? Courtney, who pays real estate agent fees?
This is a hot topic, particularly right now, because there's so much information and misinformation out there about who pays fees. And kind of where my mind goes, and let me know what you think, is like separating buyers agents and listing agents. Like, do you want to tackle it from that standpoint?
That's always the best place to
Okay.
start. So yeah,
Okay.
I like where you're
Okay.
going.
Okay. So let's start with listing agents. Okay. So typically, when a homeowner wants to sell their home, they do want to employ an agent. And that agent, because this is what they do, this is how they feed their family, they charge a fee. Okay. And typically, that fee is set by the agent. There's not like one set fee across the board. It's every market's a little bit different. Every brokerage and agent is a little bit different. And so there is a fee for their service. And it's usually disclosed up front when a seller is talking with the agent at a listing consult.
Yeah, like in their living room, they're just talking about, here's
Yeah.
what I do, here's what I charge. Got it.
Yeah. And let's break this down. It's no different than you going to talk with any other service provider at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, they're running a business. They charge fees in order to cover their business expenses and to serve you to the best of their ability.
Yeah, and to make some money. But
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that too.
Okay.
Of course, of course. So, Joe, is there anything else that you think that people need to know when it comes to listing agents, helping sellers, setting their fees, any of that?
Well, it's actually going to be a bridge to the buy side,
Okay.
which is the big question around when you are in the living room meeting, when a listing agent is meeting with the seller of a property, is what about the buyer of the property and what
Hmm.
happens and who pays the buyer's agent? And so let's suspend and pause that question and move over to the buy side and talk about the buy side.
Good, good, good. Where do you want to begin there?
Let's just talk about really what buyers agents charge
Yeah.
and who pays the buyer's agent fee. And let's just talk about
Yeah.
like trying to walk through the customer journey. How
Yeah.
does that sound now between a buyer's agent and a buyer?
Yeah. So, I mean, where my mind goes first is similar to listing agents, buyers
Yeah,
agents charge a fee for their service. And just to kind of put a pin in this particular section is, the buyers agents do a lot. The services that they're providing, locating homes, offering their expertise and advice, guiding a buyer in not only finding a home, but also negotiating the best possible deal. That's the reason why they're charging a fee. There's not a set rate across any market, any state, any geographic region. It is set by that buyer's agent or their broker.
okay, so enter what you might have been hearing about in the news with an NAR settlement that happened back in March, but a lot of the rules are in place now. Now it is required that buyer's agent disclose their fee to buyers upfront before the first tour.
Yes.
At Redfin, we do that in a few different ways, but first and foremost in the tour checkout, where you go onto the website and you schedule a tour, and that's where we disclose our fee.
Yeah.
Different brokerages do it different ways. Some are actually saying that you require a full buyer agency or representation agreement. To be clear, that is not required by MLS rules or by the settlement. Some states have regulations on that, but for the most part, it's really about fee disclosure and making sure that the buyer knows how much that buyer's agent charges, just like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, just like any other service provider. Now,
Yep.
let's talk we hit on the buy side, right? We hit on what sellers are charged. Let's bring it all together because in some cases a seller may want to offer to pay a buyer's agent or a seller may want to offer to pay a buyer's closing costs as a way to attract as many buyers and their agents as possible. And that
Yeah, and let's
also is
just pause
negotiable.
there for a second too, Courtney.
Yeah.
Is Why does this happen? And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of it has to do with just the cost that the buyer is incurring.
Yeah.
They have a down payment. They are going to be paying for furniture and moving expenses.
Yep.
Uh, let alone what's going on with their lender and any costs that are associated there too.
Yep.
So historically, the seller had been paying that fee, or at
Hmm.
least a good portion of it. And so that is still what we're seeing, even in this post settlement world,
Yeah,
is still likely, or is happening still pretty frequently, I would say.
definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
but that's where when sellers ask, well, why should I pay that fee? Of course, it's totally up to them whether they do it, but they should be ready for the fact that most buyers that are represented by agents are going to ask the seller to pay that fee, or at least a
Yeah.
portion of it.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because when all of this news happened about the NAR settlement, I kind of boiled it down. Buyers need sellers, and sellers need buyers.
Right? That's the
Yeah,
marketplace, right?
it's the marketplace, and so I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's important that everybody knows that what a seller pays, if anything, is that seller's choice and that it is negotiable between buyers and sellers. And now that's happening at the time of offer. Although, at the bare minimum, the seller knows what their listing agent is charging, the buyer knows what their buyer's agent is charging. And now, both of those parties are equipped to negotiate, when they find the right home and when they're submitting offers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody knows what they signed up for going into that, and like you said, it's all about the negotiation and the
Yeah,
contract itself. And
definitely.
so that's the moment where these two things come together.
Yeah.
So sellers should prepare themselves for the fact that buyers are going to ask. But I also just want to touch briefly, Courtney, on the difference between concessions and offers of compensation to pay a buyer's agent,
Yeah.
because that's another marketing tool that sellers have always had, which is saying, well, I'm not going to designate this for your buyer's agent, but I'm willing to offer you, let's just say, $20,000 towards whatever you want to spend it on. It could be
Yeah.
your agent, it could be appliances,
Yeah.
it could be buying your rate down.
Yeah.
That's a concession. So offers of buy side compensation that are designated for that are concessions, but not all concessions are buyer's compensation.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too confusing here too, but
Yeah.
there's a difference between that where you're offering either specifically to pay the buyer's agent as a seller or
Mhm.
just a general concession, because we're seeing both right now.
Oh, totally. And just to really break it down for the people, let's say your home has older carpet and maybe it's a little bit, worn out, and that a buyer is going to look at that and want to replace it. That's where a seller can say, you know what, I want to offer, 4 grand in concessions. Now, the seller can't say it has to go to the carpet, but that is something as you're marketing your home, you can factor in. So just to kind of make it really easy for folks to digest.
Yeah, and that's something that we had seen before any of these changes too.
Yeah.
Concessions always existed, and again, historically, sellers often paid for the buyer's agent fee. So it really just
Yeah.
comes down to how that sounds when you negotiate the offers, which is the fun part.
Absolutely. And my recommendation for anyone watching this video is to really connect with your agent. Ask questions about what fees do they charge, what is in it for you, and determine what is going to be the best fit for you. Joe, we could really continue talking about this. I want to remind folks that in the description below, we have some really good resources and articles that you can browse just to get a little bit into the nitty gritty. We'll be back with another episode with tips to help you navigate this world of real estate. Let us know in the comments what questions you'd like us to answer in the future. We hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.